James, nice to have you back on the podcast. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well and nice to be back. Thank you for inviting me on, Adam. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. It's good to connect on video this time. I can't remember the first time we did it. It was audio back, was it a couple of months back?
Wow, would that be before COVID? I can't
I think
remember.
I think it was just about during. I think it was like a
Yeah.
month after, yeah,
Wow.
during
Yeah,
lockdown, yeah.
we did audio previously. I remember that. And it was a fantastic podcast. So thank you for having me on. I've had to put something
Yeah.
on today, get my pajamas just to be on video.
Yeah. No, it's all good. Yeah, no, it's kind of flown by, hasn't it? It's pretty scary how time flies. I remember last time we spoke, we just kind of like went with the flow, and it worked
Mm.
out pretty well. Um, and I think we're going to do that again today. But I thought like you did a video the other day that made me think a lot, and it was about like having a vision. And if you don't have a vision, then you kind of just kind of sailing through life kind of thing. I
Yeah.
think it's important to have a vision, to have something that we're kind of driving towards. And we all have different ways of working, notes, having things up on, we were saying on a whiteboard.
Mm.
I think, it's pretty important, isn't it, to have kind of something in place and to be able to see it and something that we're going towards.
Yeah, spot on. That having that vision, which is something that is one of the core principles that I work on with any client who comes to me, is having that vision. Because it's like getting in a car. If you got in a car and you didn't know where you're going, you'd just be driving around. And while you're driving around, you are wasting time, you're wasting energy, you're wasting fuel, you're wasting money, and hoping that you'll end up at the destination that you want to end up at. So in your own personal life, when you have a vision, now it doesn't have to be, I know a lot of people say it's got to be precise, it's got to be pinpoint, it's got to be exact. But your vision is personal to you, and your vision can change and alter. And it's just having that knowing destination of where you want to be, an understanding of where you want to be, when you want to be there, and also what are you doing when you are there is really key in really any area of your life that you want growth in.
Mm. Yeah, no, I massively agree. And I think like it's something that we should all kind of think about. And it's kind of like, something that we should work on, because I think like a lot of the time we kind of think about things, have things in our head, and it's like you said, you have to kind of write it down. You kind of have to put it there in front of you, because otherwise you might forget about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I know we were talking before, weren't we, about we were writing down paper and stuff, and then your paper pile just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you got to
Yeah,
sort through the paper file while you're making notes on the paper file. Oh,
yeah,
yeah. And I think on that note, if you have a load of ideas bouncing around your head, and I get ideas at the most random of moments, which is normally when
mm,
I'm going to sleep at night, and that's because your brain's relaxing and that helps with your thinking process. Like, you want to scribble stuff down on a note, you want to write it down and then come to it in the morning. But what I found works is if you have just a book, have a book which is just full of notes from your head, like a mind dump book. If you have that book and that's with you all the time, you haven't got papers all lying around. You can
mm,
really not plan on your conscience about cutting down all the trees, but you have
yeah,
a book like a mind dump book which you can refer to, and then you can pick out notes from there, and you can put them on a whiteboard. You can put them onto a piece of paper that you actually follow or anything like that on your computer. But it's just
mm,
having that. It's having an organized mind dump book, I would like to call it.
yeah. No, that's a good way to put it. Like I've got different lined paper
Mm.
booklets, and I'll just, like I said, I'll write them on there. But sometimes I'll peel them off, and then that paper piles up. But yeah, it's good to have that kind of that mind kind of like dump book where you can just put whatever comes to you, like note it down,
Mm.
or possibly even on your mobile device on your notes if I've got paper with you.
Mm.
But yeah, no, it's definitely interesting. I think it's something that these kind of things aren't really taught to us, are they? Really, in school, it's not like
Yeah.
you kind of have to figure it out along the way as you go through for whatever works for you, works best for you.
Yeah.
Um, I see as well you got post-it notes on your door, and I think they're pretty good as well to
Yes.
use. Like,
Yeah. So this here is, I'll show you. So this here above me,
yeah,
it's on my wardrobe. And all the notes up there was when I was doing my NLP. And I'm
mm,
very visual, very, very
mm,
visual. So I absorb things visually, subconsciously and unconsciously. And I thought, right, I need to have some form of wording on somewhere I can see each and every single day. And even if I'm not really paying attention to it, my subconscious knows it's there. And these really helped me. They're organized, they're all in sections, and the post-it notes are the presuppositions of NLP, which I'd look at every night. I look at one before I go to bed just to run through my mind. And it's really, really important to really use your VACOG skills. So if you're a visual person, auditory, kinesthetic kind of person, is to really play on that. So if you're somebody who is very visual and you want to take in information or remember information, is to have visual notes. If you're someone who's very auditory, you could have CDs, you could have voice recordings. But if you're very kinesthetic, which is very feel, which is doing things, you may want to have something that you really resonates with you when you're doing something. So this could be that when you are learning, researching, this could be something that you've got something in your hand, maybe something you can squeeze just because you're moving, or you could be on the move, walking around, listening or looking at information because you're recording it in some form of kinesthetic way as you're moving. That's a little bit more tricky than audio and visual, but 75% of the population is visual. So a lot of the people listening to this will be visual. So having them visual aids and playing to your strengths.
Mm. Yeah, no, it's definitely interesting, like when you think about it, because, like you said, the kinesthetic, the visual, audio, auditory, I can't pronounce it, auditory. We all kind of work in different ways, and it's like you said, when it comes to learning, especially, it's kind of using what works for you. Like me personally, I like to write things down, look at it, write it down, take it in, and go over it. And I think, like, we kind of have to, like I said, figure out our own way of learning, in life. Like in school, we're just kind of like throwing loads of information. And it's like, hang on a second, am I taking this in?
Yeah.
What is this the right way of learning and things like that? So
it's a very blanket approach.
Yes. And, I think it's definitely important, because I think once you figure that out, the way of how you learn and what works for you, it's kind of like not plain sailing, but it's much an easier process.
Yeah, it's very true. And I think as well that we're a very, very digital generation, very digital now, and a lot of things are going online. And people think, oh, well, I've got to have note taking online. But sometimes that doesn't work out for you. And going back to the old fashioned way of writing things down is the best way for you to take notes. And as you said, like going back to the education don't teach you. School, college, university, they mold you for just a career, for what you do in between the 9 to 5. They don't actually teach you and help you for what you do outside the 9 to 5. So if you've got goals, if you've got dreams outside the 9 to 5, you can sometimes feel lost and confused and like, well, what do? I haven't been taught this. And the best form of education is that self-education. Look at what works for you. How should I take notes? How do I want to be learning? What do I want to be learning? You're so right that education doesn't give us the tools to do that.
Yeah, no, that's it. And I think, like, when I was doing my coaching course, like, I don't know about you, but like when I was learning certain like modalities and like diagrams and things like that, I was looking at it and I was like, why didn't they? If I was taught this in school, like, how your mind works and things like this, like, I'd be a different person now, and I probably wouldn't have done the stupid, so to speak, shit that I did when I was a bit younger. So it's interesting, how the mind works, and why that isn't put into the curriculum. I think it should be, and I think it's amazing to learn about ourselves and how the mind does work, because I think, like, once you're in control of your mind and how it works, it gives you more clarity as a person.
Yeah. And you also understand the reasons why you do things, you understand the reasons why you're believing things, and the reasons why things are happening in the world, and how you can change them to how you want to be. But also, I think for me, since doing my coaching and NLP practitioner, is that I got so much appreciation now for the mind and the human body.
Mm.
And for me, yes, it allows me to help other people. It helps me to benefit their lives and give them the tools and the techniques to change and become who they want to become. But at the same time, for me, it's that appreciation of who I am as a person, what I can, and how I work. And when you then give other people that education, you can see it in their faces. I don't know if that's something that you face, Adam, when you're speaking to people and you're just giving them little ways in terms of how you interpret information, and they see them learning about themselves. There's that light bulb moment. And if that was taught in education, I personally feel that there would be, and this might be something people might not agree with, but I feel there'd be a lot less depression. I feel there'll be a lot less anxiety because people would understand that what people would understand what's making them depressed, what's making them anxious, what's causing their sadness, and they can alter that. They can then make that change because they've been given the tools to make that change.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you, and I find that, with what you said, is that, people, you kind of have the tools within themselves to change. And I think, like, through coaching, you're providing this open space for that person to kind of, like, I've said it before, it's like a, tangled ball of string, and they're coming to you in that space, and they're just unpicking it and untangling it. And a lot of the time, people have things going on. We all have things going on at some point, and people seek external things to kind of fix that thing that's internal. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like drinking or going out or buying something, and we've all probably done it, and
I'll on my handle.
yeah, same. And that's the beauty of coaching, and it's like if people knew about this earlier on, they probably it would prevent them from probably doing those things.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's that kind of light bulb moment. You see the person kind of just shift, and it's pretty powerful how people can shift, pretty momentarily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the shift. It's a realization, I think, a lot of the time, in the fact that you are responsible for your own happiness, and that is because, as you just said, instead of looking externally for happiness, motivation, confidence, whatever that may be, once you realize that the responsibility lies within you internally, it's almost like, well, I can actually affect this. And people place the power of their happiness, they place the power of their confidence, they place the power of their fulfillment, whatever that may be, externally. When you actually take back that power and go, no, wait a minute, I'm responsible for this, people are like, well, I can actually affect that. And it's sometimes not huge changes that people have to make in their lives. It's just little tiny things that all add up to this big, huge, wow, like a big breakthrough. And as a coach, I'm sure, Adam, you feel this and you see this, and seeing that, it just makes you feel like you're changing the world. And I know going off a little tangent, but yeah, there's a great quote out there that every time you coach, you change the world. And it's true, because you're giving people this awareness that they are responsible for their change and they are responsible for their own happiness. And I think that's a fantastic gift to give.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree, and I think that's one of the rewarding things about it, isn't it? It's you're providing a positive value to other people, and that person feels reassured, and that you're seeing that person change. And I think it's that person that's kind of doing the work. We are just like providing that space, aren't you, for that, to facilitate that and just guide. It's like kind of guiding a ship on its course to where it needs to go, isn't it? And I've noticed that through podcasting, strangely enough. Like, in myself and with some people I've connected with, they've been on a podcast and then they've done their own, and you see that person kind of grow. Do you know what I mean? As well.
Yeah.
And we're all kind of in this together, and I think that's what it's all about. It's not about us getting our needs met. It's some people get into coaching because they think, oh yeah, the money and all the rest of it. And it's like, well, if you're in it for that reason, you're not going to be in it very long, because you need to be a person who's got empathy, who's understanding of people and wants to have a positive impact. Because when I did my course, there were some people who didn't understand what empathy was, and kind of lacked empathy when it came to, you know, the practice
Yeah,
sessions, and they found it difficult. So
yeah,
I think
that's
it's
strange.
important.
It's empathy is big for a coach. It's big for people in people's lives as well. Being shown that you are being empathetic to somebody.
Mm. I think that's something that's definitely kind of opening up in the media now as well, with like workplaces.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. It's definitely opening up, and I think we've got to be very empathetic towards, and also not I'd say understanding, but because so many people out there now are losing their jobs, people are having to switch careers. They would have been comfortable there. They would have been happy somewhere this time last year, and now their world's completely gone. Well, excuse the language, tits up in the space of a year,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
now it's all about now being right. Okay, the world's changed, and looking at your own situation and looking at others with empathy and being like, wow, you
Mm.
know what, where I am right now, yes, okay, I may not be doing what I'm doing, what I want to be doing, but I have this, I have that. And it comes down to gratitude, which is really key in this.
Yeah. No, that's a key thing, gratitude. Like that's something I've learned a lot about recently. And it gives you a different perspective. It definitely gives you perspective on things when you look at things from gratitude. Um, I think because especially we, as people, especially in today's society, we like to have the latest thing. We always chasing that next thing, you know, instant gratification.
Yeah.
And I think like through gratitude, it's quite grounding.
Yeah.
Because you think to yourself, you look at the things that you have got as opposed to the things that you haven't got.
Spot on. It's about, as you said, like we're always looking for that self gratification, and we don't think that we can get gratification in things we already have.
Mm.
And because there was a great, I can't remember where I heard it or where I read it, but they were saying that at one point, let's say if you want a brand new car,
Yeah.
and you're seeing this car, you're desiring this car, you are like, oh my god, I really want this car, and then you get the car. A few months later, you may find yourself thinking, oh, I want this car now. And you seem to forget at one point in your life, you craved the car that you are in. You loathed for that car that you are in.
Mm.
It's the same with mobile phones. You have your mobile phone, you crave the next mobile phone. You then get that phone. A few months later, what other phone can I have now to make me happy? But we forget that at one point in time, that phone that you have in your hand right now, you would have probably given pretty much anything for, or you would have been extremely grateful to have that phone and felt lucky and felt so happy. And it's
Mm.
actually realizing, okay, well, you know what? At one point in my life, I actually wanted this. This was something that I desired, I dreamed about, I really, really felt passionately about. And when you bring that gratitude back, once again, it brings back the control within you of your happiness and being grateful for things.
Yeah. No, exactly. I was thinking about where I've been caught in that trap. I like to play video games. You know, I don't play as much as I used to, but I remember I'd buy a video game for like
Mm.
35, 40 quid. And I'd be like, yeah, I've waited for this to come out. I've got it. I'm going to get another one. And I'm like,
Yes.
whoa, hang on a sec. Because there might be a sale on, and you're like, oh, I'm going to get this one. And it's like, what, do I actually need that?
Yeah.
I haven't even finished this one yet. So why am I jumping from this ship to that one? I've got, you know,
Yeah, I've
so
got hours worth of playing this.
yeah. So yeah, it's temptation, and I think that's where kind of like discipline comes into place as well. And I know, you know, like you said, that kind of gratification and wanting the next thing comes into a lot of different things, not just video games. You know, clothes, cars.
Yeah.
So we have to be like very self-disciplined, because you know I've been there where I've bought all these things that I wanted,
Mm-hmm.
and then you haven't got much money left because you've just bought all these things, and
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I'm got, you know, is it really worth it?
Yeah. And it's all put in a wardrobe, it's all put away somewhere, and you kind of forget about it. I think a lot of the gratification comes from actually, and this is something I used to do a bit of work with Amazon driving. And I always thought, like, the Amazon say that you're delivering smiles, but it's kind of taken that on Christmas morning when you used to open your presents and you'd be like, oh my God, opening. And I think now what's happening is with it being so accessible to have a package at your door, even though you know what this package is, it's the opening up of it. People now getting that Christmas morning feeling throughout the whole year of opening, and I think it it can get extremely addictive. I know somebody who every day is buying penny items or very cheap items and getting them and opening them. And they were saying that, do you know what? It's something that I'm stuck in because I'm constantly getting that gratification from this particular item. And I admit to it, if Amazon turns up and gives me, I'm like, oh my God, yeah, I got a package. And I'm like, grab it. I'm like, woo! But I think a lot of the time, if that's consistent, the happiness isn't from what you're buying, it's from the actual opening up. I remember when you were a kid, and I know when I was a kid, and you get a present and you'd open it, put it to a side, next one. And you'd be like, let's unravel this present. That's the most exciting bit, the unwrapping bit.
Yeah.
So really feeding off this ability to get things delivered the next day and love opening it.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. No, I think I agree. I remember like as well when I was a kid, I had like lots of presents. Must have been like 5. And I think it was like I was too overwhelmed by it all. I think you see some kids who get a lot of presents and it's too much. And they're like, they can't cope because it's like, oh, tripping over presents for Christmas. And it is like you said, that it's not just a gift, it's that whole experience of getting it and opening it up and being like, oh wow, even if it's a hat or something, it's like, oh yeah, it's come from Germany or somewhere. And it's like you said, and when that comes, it's I suppose, is it dopamine gets released? Dopamine, it's like it's a hit of dopamine, it makes you feel good. And
I think also it happens in stages as well. It's the buying of it. You've then got the anticipation. I know we're going off a little bit of a tangent here.
No,
it's all about that. It's all about that self-gratification. And it's that you're buying the item. So you've got that gratification, the dopamine rush of, oh, I brought something. Then you're having the anticipation of waiting for it to be delivered. You then get the confirmation email that it's been dispatched. So once again, you're like, oh, it's coming. And then you've got the anticipation, it's coming out. When's it coming? You can track them now. And then it comes, ripping open, and then that just drops off. Oh, right. Next hit. And like you said,
something else.
So transferable to social media, phones, cars, games, books, TV programs. Constantly looking for that boom, boom, boom to make me happy externally when it starts internally within you.
Yeah, no, it's powerful. It's definitely powerful, and it makes you feel. I mean, we're all, like we said, we're all kind of had that or experienced it or do experience it, and I think it's that balance, isn't it? It's that balance of treating yourself, knowing that okay, well, I'm not going to go crazy. I've still got money in the bank. I'm going to treat myself because I think we have to. We have to treat ourselves.
Yeah,
but if you're spending, I don't know, £1,000 on Supreme or something like that every month or something crazy, I think there's something not quite right. Because I bought a Supreme shirt recently. It was about 45 quid. And I won't go too much off topic, but like I said, I had the excitement of it. I was like, oh wow. And then after a week, I was like, okay, I won it twice.
Yeah, it comes another share.
Yeah, so it's being aware of that, and I think it's that balance, isn't it, which is key, and being disciplined and being, like I said,
it's that awareness of recognizing. I know yourself as someone who's in this personal development game, and you're understanding, and you've got a heightened. I like to think, and this is no way in means bragging or anything, but we have a heightened kind of exposure to how people work and also how we work as well. And I don't know about you, but I've seen so many faults in me that I'm like, wow, okay, you've been doing this for how long? But anyway, but I think actually the awareness of, okay, what am I doing this for? Okay, it's that dopamine, but what am I actually doing this for? What am I looking to get out of this? And I think it's something kind of with the buying and with the likes on Facebook is what effect is this having on me? What difference am I looking for by posting this photo, this video, this caption? and what am I looking to gain from it? And it's that awareness, just asking yourself a few questions just to check in, like check in if you're either chasing that dopamine rush, or you may realize that, you know what, I don't actually need this. I'm buying it for nothing. Just get in the habit of questioning why you do things.
Yeah. No, massively. I think that's quite powerful by just asking yourself why. There's like that. There's it. Simon Sinek. I think he did a book called "Find Your Why" or "What Is Your Why."
I'm listening to that now.
Yeah, he's really good. And asking yourself why you do something is pretty effective. And it's kind of like coaching NLP. What is it? What's the reason why you're doing that? Those questions that really get you thinking. And it's like why are you doing your job? Why are you doing a podcast? And it really breaks it down and really highlights things when you kind of ask yourself why. And I think with social, sorry.
No, it's okay. In terms of the why questions, what I would say is, why is a question that I wouldn't ask yourself too many times, because why can also sometimes seem quite critical. So if you say to someone, why are you doing this? Why is this? Probably reframe it to, what is the reason that I'm taking this action? What am I looking to gain from this?
Yeah.
What am I feeling right now? How is this going to benefit me? Because you're coming then from an area of curiosity and not criticism, because you don't want to criticize yourself. You probably beat yourself up more times than you should anyway. We all do. I do. I'm sure you do. And it's coming from that curiosity of, okay, well, what's the reason behind this? What's causing this behavior? What am I looking to gain? It's that curiosity, because you're being kind to yourself. You're exploring and you're discovering more about yourself than you would if you didn't, and you just continued with the habitual behaviors. Yeah,
no, exactly. Because if you're saying why, then you kind of like, it's like punching yourself in this side, and then what is this? I don't know.
That's it. Yeah, that is so true. There's a guy, I was watching a video this morning, Paul McGee. I don't know if you ever heard of him. And
No.
He does a thing of take the what's it? It's how to be more confident. And his first one is to not to be more gentle with the boxing glove. Because he says people put this boxing glove on and they're just boom punching themselves all day.
Yeah.
And it's like, what if you took the boxing glove off and stopped beating yourself up and stopped like really being critical of the reason why you're doing things?
Yeah. And it's looking at the things that you have done rather than the things that you haven't done. Like if you've got a list of things to do, you look at the things that you have accomplished or the things that you have done. I think like we said, we're kind of wired, it goes back to like caveman times to be like negative, and it's a lot easier to go into that negative side of things.
Yeah.
And it's pushing through that, part of us and just pushing through those emotional states, isn't it? And tuning in with our emotional states. And with like the social media side of it, I think we've all kind of like looked at the likes, that gratification. Whereas I don't know, now I tend to just post stuff. I'm not bothered about how many likes it gets. It's it's that kind of like muscle, isn't it? People like it. It makes you feel good when you get likes.
Yeah.
But it's just trying not to, seek those likes. Just post stuff. And because I think that's where people get caught up in things. They might post something and they might not get the likes, so they don't post anything next time.
That they're asking themselves, how many likes will this get? When really you don't actually know. And what if you didn't get any likes? What would happen? And what if you did get the likes? What happens? And if that's what you're basing your happiness on, it comes back to the fact that you're placing your happiness externally and not internally. Which I've done it in the past, like putting a photo up and checking it every couple of minutes. How many likes have I got? How many views? But it's something that I see every day with family members, with friends who are chasing this like, building up their like balance, so to speak, where really your efforts could be put elsewhere, where you get so much more fulfillment and so much more happiness and gratification and enjoyment in your life.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think as well with that, it's like, say I don't know, you do a video and it gets views, or if you do a podcast, it gets listens. It's who listens to it, not how many.
Yes.
You know, it's like you could get 10 people listen to it, but 3 of those people could be, you know, CEOs of big companies, or they could be somebody important, or you know, somebody, you know, who might know someone who can then give you that connection. I always look at like Joe Rogan, how he started out in podcasting, and you think like the very early days and where he is now. And he said when he first did it, he had like 200 downloads or 200 views when he first started out, you know. And
got to start out somewhere, haven't you?
Yeah, and I think that's the important thing I was saying earlier to somebody is, you know, documentation. Just, you know, like this now, we're documenting something.
Yeah.
And people, you know, like we could look at it and other people could look at it in 2 or 3 years' time, and you can kind of see that growth process.
You're putting it all depends in terms of what you're putting out there. And for content like this, you are putting content out there, then in 2-3 years' time someone's going to be watching. And what's the reason for putting this out? And you're putting this out to help people. And if in 2 years' time it helps somebody somewhere, then that's your job done. That's your purpose filled. You could get 10 views, but that one view could be the view of the person who wants to speak to you, who wants to connect with you, who wants to work with you and give you a new opportunity. Whereas I think people are like, right, I need it now, straight away. Help me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think society. It is society that we live in.
Yeah.
Society. There's a great program on Netflix, The Social Dilemma. I don't know if you've watched that yet.
I've seen the trailer. I need to watch it.
Scary. Scary at how you're being, or how we are being, how the world is being manipulated. That's another few-hour conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, it is definitely interesting, like when you look at it, because I won't go too much into it, but I did see something like where these social media companies have more kind of power than the government in some way, to some extent. Like there's no controlling these platforms, you know, through how they can grow and what they can do and how they can influence, like, you know, like elections and things like that. And in the way you think as well, like I've noticed it when I've seen something, or if certain algorithms, especially on Instagram, as much as I love Instagram, if you search enough things or certain hashtags, it will just start to appear in your box. And I think people have experimented with it as well. And it's all of these things are getting your attention, and if you can get your attention, they can get your money. They can influence you, and it's like a pretty scary when you think about it. But there's, like I was saying earlier with somebody, there's a double-edged sword with the internet. There's the positive side of it, which we're doing now. We can post good content, and there is that downside to it. But it's that kind of balance of how much you let it in. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have to kind of know it's there, but don't focus on it. Because it'll just bring you down.
And you were spot on what you just said there. It's down to you. Tony Robbins talked about staying guard at the entrance of your mind. So yes, all this is external that's going on in the world. Yes, we know that these companies are trying to buy your attention, trying to buy your life, your time. But you've got to stand guard at your mind and go, right, I want to be mindful about this. I want to be aware of this. What can I do to help me? What can I do to guard my mind? Is that coming off one of the platforms? Is that reducing the amount of friends? Is that reducing the amount of usage? Is that doing something more productive? Focus on what you can control. We can't control all these billion-dollar, trillion-dollar companies who are pumping money through these platforms. What we can control is if we view it. We can control how often we go on a phone. We can control the mindful practices that you do. That's what you can control. So it's important for you to focus on that. If you get too wrapped up in, we're being brainwashed, we're being this, we're being that, then you're placing that, once again, external. Where if you go, right, okay, so this is going on, but it stops with the device, it stops with the TV, it stops with the laptop, it stops with whatever that is. What can you do to help with that? How can you control what the information that's coming into your mind better than you are currently at the moment in time? And once again, it comes down to asking yourself better questions.
Yeah. No, that's really profound and it's really important, what you said. And I think like I've noticed on Twitter, like Twitter is a minefield.
Yeah.
Twitter is a minefield. And I post my content on there and I'll reply to a few comments, but I'll see like lots of people arguing, and it's like I just don't get involved in any of that. I see it and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna post this and then I'm gonna spend a couple of minutes and I'm done. I'm out. Some people, I feel sorry for people who are in that space. I feel sorry for people who have to. I think it's coming from that place, isn't it? Feeling sorry for that person and let them do what they got to do. It is definitely something we have to be mindful of, and our phones have these settings in there where it can track how long you've been on apps, and sometimes you look at it, oh, Christ, I spent 3 hours on that.
But and it's also then, okay, so now you've been educated that you spent 3 hours. What are you going to do about it? And are you going to be like the next day, I just won't look at the stats. I won't look at how long I've been on there. I'll just ignore them from now on. And that's the ignorance, because you know that you shouldn't be doing it, but it's ignorance. So it's asking yourself, well, what am I going to do about it? Are you happy? You maybe think, I'm happy spending 3 hours on Instagram. Perfect. Like if that's making you truly happy, which I'd be very surprised, then great. But what do you want to do about it? How's that affecting you? What difference is that making in your life? What could you be doing with them 3 hours per day?
Yeah. No, that's it. That's definitely it, isn't it? It's getting yourself asking those questions and thinking about it. That's like, if I play video games, I won't do it during the week because I'm like, during the week, I'm doing what I got to do.
Yeah.
During the weekend, I'll spend half an hour or whatever amount of time, that. Whereas I think if you do so, I think we have to be careful what we engage in and the people we engage in, because that can slow you down. I think certain things can slow down your energy. If you're engaging in certain activities or certain things, that time and energy, like I said, could have gone into reading or doing something that's going to benefit you in the long run. It's constant practice.
It is. And a good way to look at it is if you are spending 3 hours a day of social media, what happens if you were to spend 3 hours a day eating burgers, or if you were to spend 3 hours a day eating chips? What would that do to your body? Well, that would probably end up you putting on weight. Your skin would go greasy, you'd have spots, you wouldn't feel great. It'd have a detrimental effect. So what is 3 hours of doing anything? 3 hours of running will take some toll on your knees. 3 hours of eating apples. I know it's a bizarre comparison, but even if you were to eat that amount, if you were to continue to put that shit food into your body, then you would feel shit. But if you would, it's about, people, a lot of people now are on this fitness thing of like, I'm going to be mindful what I eat. I can't eat all this, I can't eat all that. But they actually then forget that they've got to be mindful about what they put into the mind. Because once again, the mind is a sponge. Just like your belly is, just like your stomach is, it will absorb anything that you feed it. So what are you feeding your mind? And if it's 3 hours of social media, you're going to be probably not in a dark place. That's a bit too extreme, but you're probably going to be suffering from comparing yourself to others. You're going to be suffering from self-doubt, tiredness from staring at a screen. They're great when used correctly.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it, isn't it? It's something like balance. Because I know, like, if I'm inside and I'm working on loads of different things, I'm at a screen, I have to get out. I have to get out and go for a walk. I have to get out or go for a drive or something just to get out that
Yeah.
kind of space. And I think as long as you're tuned into that and you're mindful of that and you gauge with that, then that's good. It's recognizing it, isn't it? I remember my friends came down recently for a few days, and I ate certain things that I don't usually eat, like like pizza and
Mm.
some bad food. But then after a couple of days, I was like, right, I don't feel myself. I need some fruit.
Yeah.
I recognized that. So
Something.
so I went to the shop and I bought some bananas and I had some juice, and that just kind of took the edge off. And I think I think it's important as a person to kind of be tuned into what is deserving you and what isn't, instead of just kind of going sailing through life.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. And it comes back to it comes back to that whole, as you just said, the balance. Because it's okay, like it's okay to eat pizza now and again. It's okay to eat burgers now and again. But if you're eating them constantly, then you're going to have some probably health issues or something that's not going to be working how you want to work it, how you want it
Mm-hmm.
to be working. But you can just have a balanced, once again, the balanced diet, have a balanced
Yeah.
mind, input stuff. And I think I was quite critical when I first started out because I used to love playing computer games, used to play them loads, really enjoyed it. And I stopped completely and I really immersed myself into my work. But then it's that realization that it's okay if you want to play an hour of computer games. It's
Yeah.
okay if you want to watch a bit of Netflix at night. Like I watched Netflix from the first time I turned the TV on, it was 8:30 till 10
Yeah.
before I go
Yeah.
to bed. That's okay because it's balanced. You're working, you're doing what you want to do, and then you're rewarding
Mm.
yourself.
Yeah.
And it's having that balance in your life. And if you're
Mm.
watching 8-9 hours of Netflix a day, that isn't balance.
Yeah. Yeah.
It isn't balance at
Was
all.
I I watched a bit of that Ozark
Yeah,
with my younger brother, and
yeah.
he was like, "One more episode." I'm like, "Okay, one more episode." No, I've got to go now. I'm like, "No, that's." I was like,
So easy to do though. How easy is it to just sit there and carry on watching it?
"Yeah, it's pretty scary." But yeah, you have to have that balance, and that's like in all things, isn't it?
Mm.
Because you have to have that enjoyment in life, and it's okay, like you said, to because you have to have that thing to break the ice. I find if you don't have that, we're just uptight and we can get stressed, and it's not enjoyable. That's why there is social and entertainment things that are out there, because we're social creatures. We're not designed to constantly be on the go. We have to have that downtime.
Action.
Yeah, we have to have that downtime, because I think through that downtime, it's almost like a rebooting process for when you then have to work the next day or something.
Hmm.
It kind of just that extra energy to propel you.
Correct. Yeah, and that could be whatever is your downtime. It could be running. It
Mm,
could be exercise. It could be meditation. It could be just going to grab a drink, a green tea, whatever that is. Whatever is your downtime. And like you were talking about it being good to reward yourself. That's you rewarding yourself. Like
mm,
reward yourself with watching an hour of Netflix. Reward yourself with going for a walk. Reward yourself with an hour on the computer game. But it's
mm.
when that hour turns into 2 hours, turns to 3 hours, turns to 4 hours, and that isn't productive. That isn't balanced.
Yeah, it's like you walk outside and it's like nighttime. And you're like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, it's that the weekend's passing and like yeah, that was a bit of weight.
Yeah. Do you have you been reading any books recently at all? You mentioned that your audiobook. You've been
So
looking at it all.
I've been working through the Start With Why. I can't remember the guy's name who wrote it. I think
Simon
you mentioned
Sinek.
it.
Yeah,
That's the
Simon
guy.
Sinek. Yeah.
And I've also been reading Shoe Dog, which
Right.
is by uh, Phil Phil Knight. Phil Knight, the guy is. He's the founder of Nike, and it's I wouldn't say it's a personal development or self development book, but it's and it doesn't. I know a lot of self development books. They say do this, do that. I did this, I did that. This is a story, and it's a really captive story as well about how he went from nothing, $50 to now, well, being one of the
Billionaire.
yeah, and one of the leading brands in the world, not even just in sports, in the world. And it's a really, I'm about 3/4 of the way through it, and it's a really captivating book because it talks a lot about Japanese philosophy, Japanese language they use, and their mantra in terms of work, and that's really interesting. But also, it is a great story as well. So, if any listeners are looking for something that's not heavy, looking for something that's nice and light, but also quite motivational and quite inspiring, I would highly recommend Shoe Dog. It was recommended to me by a friend, and I think on Amazon it was like, I can't remember, £9-10. I went to Works. Now I don't know where your listeners are based, but we have in the UK, and I think it was £2. So if you're going to buy it, check out the Works first. Yeah. I was like, this is quite expensive online. I was like, oh, expensive, £9-10. I was like, and I like cheap stuff. I'm like, I'm buying this £2.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I would highly recommend the book.
Yeah, no, I definitely have to check it out. I think that's the amazing thing. You kind of find good books that, like, Waterstones are always like the kind of flagship, like, expensive place to go.
Yeah.
In the UK, I don't know if it's national. But like, yeah, on Amazon used books. The Works, different websites have decent priced books. I read Gary Vee's Crush It recently. His first book.
How was that?
It was good. It's a bit, it's not the word dated, because things have grown since then in terms of social media, but the kind of core concepts are quite good. And that's about, posting on social media frequently, doing what you love, and kind of back then it was like Google ads and, early days of YouTube and Tumblr. Yeah. But it's kind of, the concepts are still used today. I started reading a bit different from personal development, but my ancestors are like Native American, so I kind of wanted to learn more about like the history and this
cool.
Empire of the Summer Moon. So it's about the Comanche Native American tribes that got obliterated, and the fighting that went on.
Yeah.
But no, it's really interesting. I think it's interesting and to learn about the history. But on a nicer scale, I was reading Principles by Ray Dalio.
I haven't heard of that.
Which is quite good, which talks about mindset and things like that. I've got it over here, actually.
Yeah, go grab it. It's a thick book. It's quite thick.
So it talks about like different business. It's like business insights. Okay. Ray Dalio Principles, which is really good. So it's like unconventional principles of life, work, and how he turned from like a middle class kid from Long Island into like a successful business person. So that's got lots of tips. But reading's important, isn't it? You take so much from reading.
It's also good for a break as well, reading. And yeah, you can learn so much from a book. It's phenomenal, and it's at your own pace, it's at your own time, and it's at your own enjoyment as well. And there's some fantastic books out there. When people say that they haven't got this is one of my kind of the mission that I'm on, is to make personal development easy and accessible to everybody, because I think everyone should have the opportunity to understand what they can achieve. And books are a great source. They're cheap. They're cheap. They're easy, and they have so much information in there. And there's so much stuff online as well that you can read and watch and learn about. So it's there for you. You've just got to ask the questions and search for it.
Yeah, no, exactly.
It's the books. I think I'm trying to think of some of the books that have really made an influence in my life. So the book that I first read on my journey to self-development was The Magic of Thinking Big, which I still to this day read it once a year. It's fantastic. It's a great book. It's like my Bible. And I'm trying to think of another. There's the Tony Robbins one.
Waking the Giant, is it?
Yes. and making
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like that. Yeah, and that's a very NLP focused book as well. But once again, great principles,
Mm.
fantastic read.
No, that's it. He's got some good books, and the diagrams in there are very good as well.
Mm.
It's funny because I heard him talking about like some guy that tried suing him, and he bought his book, and I think he made a certain decision, or he was like, I've bought your book, and my life hasn't changed, or something, or I've done this thing from reading your book, and I think he said that this has affected my life, and he was like, well, it's not my fault. I just
Yeah,
it's up to you what you do with that content, and you can't read the book and expect things to happen.
exactly.
It was so
You got to
you
put
have to be
that.
careful.
You can read, but you can read the book all you want. But if you want the changes from the book, you got to take action.
Mm. Yeah, I think that Gary Vee said you can't read about doing push-ups.
Yeah, and you can't read to learn to swim.
Yeah,
You can't. You've never learned how to swim by reading.
yeah. I think that's the effective thing about taking action, isn't it? And I talk about it sometimes as like the compound effect. You ever
Mm-hmm.
heard about the like compound interest?
Yeah,
That just doing something like say I don't know, say you go running for a week around the block, or do 10 press ups a week.
mm.
Next week add 5. Do that, and it's that build, isn't it? And it's
Yeah.
I mean that applies to anything. You like learning, podcasting, coaching,
Mm-hmm.
exercise. It's those that 1%, that little 1% that then builds like a snowball, and you just get
Yeah.
better at things.
Yeah, there's a great analogy of that. I was talking to my cousin actually earlier on today, very similar to that compound effect about the domino effect. And
Mm.
it's in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, where if you, and I can't remember the amount of dominoes, so apologies if it's incorrect, but I know roughly the amount. And as if you were to get a domino, and each domino after that was doubled in size, and I think it's in about 30 odd dominoes, you would reach a domino that'd be the size which would fall up to the moon. It'd be that big.
Mm.
So when you knock that first domino, it moves, and it shows that how by taking little actions that compound over time, that you can make huge dramatic change instead of making just one big change. If you take little actions each and every single day, that
Mm.
consistency of doing
Mm.
things wrong, of failing, of getting
Mm.
frustrated, and then adapting, okay, so what's not working for me? What do I want into this? Then that's where you will then start to move forward a lot quicker. But
Mm.
even by just taking that first step forward and failing, you have changed. You've learned something which you can then move forward with.
Mm. No, I love that, and I love the fact that you kind of like gravitate, and you kind of like what probably was a hard habit to get into after like over time. It's no longer difficult because you're automatically doing it,
Yeah.
and that domino effect is pretty. It's real. It's real life.
Yeah.
You like this morning, my alarm didn't go off, so I was a little bit longer in bed than I usually am, and it's like if you kind of, especially with sleep and when you go to bed, like if you that domino effect of that, if you go to bed dead late, you get up, you get a bit later, that could then domino effect into something else,
Mm-hmm.
and then you end up doing, the next day the same thing, and it's everything we do, we have to be so mindful of in some way, don't we? Because it is that kind of domino effect of, how you're living, probably how you're thinking. Um, People say, is it like the first time? There's like a period of when you wake up. It's like if you say good things to yourself or positive affirmations, that will then domino throughout your day. It's like if you get up and you hit your toe on the side and you're like, ah, shit.
Yeah.
Then it's going to put you in a different emotional state.
Mm-hmm. You're setting yourself up for the day. One of my first thoughts every morning is that I have already won because I've taken a breath. I'm alive. I've already won the day. That I have already won the day because I'm alive. Where so many people awake, or well, I always say, be grateful that you've woke up on the right side of the ground. You by opening your eyes in the morning, you are doing something that thousands of people have not had the opportunity to do. So straight away, you're winning. You are winning. You're
Mm.
ahead. So
Mm.
get ahead and use that. Use the day because, and this is a bit blunt, but I always think it's good to be blunt sometimes because one day you are going to be the person waking up on the wrong side of the ground. Nothing you can do about it. So while you're here,
Yeah.
let's make the most of it. Let's, yeah. And it's something that when I speak to my clients and we're talking, I'm not that blunt, but
Yeah,
it's,
but we're just having a conversation about it. Yeah.
yeah. And it's something that I like to instill with them in that the fact that, listen, like, you are lucky to be alive today. I have known people who have not woken up the next day
Mm.
and been very young. And I've known somebody who's gone to work and not come back and due to losing their life. But it's just be grateful the fact that today you have woken up and you've got an opportunity today to make a step forward, no matter how big, no matter how small. Do something that affects your happiness, that really ignites your happiness, ignites your passion. Because I was writing about this morning. Like, life is too short, and there's too many great opportunities to not move forward, to take action. There's too many opportunities, so you want to be actively, not always on the go, but being grateful once again for being here and filling your mind full of these positive thoughts and affirmations. You deserve it.
No, that's it. It's definitely powerful, what you said. And I think, like, you're right, because, like I said, some people aren't lucky enough to be here, the following day, for whatever reason. And as well, I saw a quote like, being a human being is like 400 trillion to one. Chances of being a human being, 400 trillion to one.
400 to 1, yeah.
And it's like
400 to 1, 1 in 400 quadrillion. That's the one. It's a mouthful.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like, you could be a tree or like a plant.
Yes.
Or like, I saw a Gary Vee video and he's like, you could be a lamppost. There's people, there's people here walking around. And it's like, yeah, but I think of sometimes I'm like, being a wasp, being an ant, or, they've got their own job to do it, like as a species, but, you could be,
they have a job to do. They have a purpose to do in this world. And just as you've been put, you have a purpose. And your purpose is something for you to discover.
Yeah.
So it's down to you to take action upon that and discover what that is, or you'll just go through life working for somebody else's purpose.
Yeah. No, that's it. I like that. And I there's a quote, and it's like, if you don't build your own dream, you help someone else to build theirs. And I've seen that. I always think of that with builders. I know there's nothing wrong with building jobs at all, but I was thinking to myself, like, those people aren't building their own house; they're building someone else's.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's one to do with chess as well. Is it like, don't be the pawn in someone else's game of chess or something like that?
God, I haven't heard of that one, but I like the builders one.
Yeah, but it makes you think, doesn't it? Because, like, we've all got our own purpose, and we've all got so much within us that we can tap into. And there's another quote, I don't know who said it. It's like, the richest place is like the graveyard, because it's people who've passed on with dreams and probably desires that they didn't work on.
Yeah, and it's I always think it's much more fun to go at it, have a go, attempt it, than it is to squash it. And and I think and I know it's a little bit of a switching topic, but it's that failure thing as well. A lot of reasons why people don't take action is failure. But either way, you're going to fail. I'm telling you that now. Whichever option you take, you're going to fail, because if you don't take action, you're failing big time, because you're failing in acting upon your dream. You're failing in acting on what you want to do. But if you do take action, you're having small little failures that are making up to success. So either way, you're going to fail. It's which failures you want to choose. And I think I know I want to choose the small little failures that are going to move me forward with my success.
Yeah.
And enjoy the process as well.
Yeah, that's it. And I think with the failure as well, I won't get too much into it, but like, you gain so much experience through that, and that's how you learn. And I think it's better to have those experiences to grow, to have that resilience through having those experiences and just trying things out. Because I think people in today's society, younger people coming out of school and education. There's so much pressure how to to find out what you want to be, what you want to do, and they haven't even did the toe in the water yet. So I mean, like you've just got to try things out. I mean, I'm sure you've tried things out.
Yeah.
We've definitely tried things out. Okay, that hasn't worked. Tried it. Okay, got the experience. You might meet somebody through just trying that thing out. That might be a lifelong friend or a partner or something. So, like I said, through not trying these things out, you're kind of like limiting, your existence, and you don't know what's on the other side of it. Like, through us doing this, like, like if we didn't do these things that we're doing, we wouldn't be having this conversation now, for example.
And I Paul McGee, once again, bring his name up. He talked about failing. The word fail means first action in learning.
Wow. Yeah.
That really resonates with me. It's the first.
Yeah.
You fail. When you fail, it's your first action in learning. And from an NLP presupposition of presupposing that something's true is that there's no such thing as failure, only feedback. And that relates to the learning. Again, it's that feedback from that learning.
Yeah, no, it's like learning to drive, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's, one of the hardest things I've ever done. And it's like, so it's that constant practice, isn't it? If you want something bad enough, you'll get it, I think.
Oh, yeah, because you'll be willing to put in the work ethic. But when people want something so badly, and they get overwhelmed by what they need to do to get that. They know what they need to do, but they don't. They know what they need to do, but they don't do what they know. And people will get overwhelmed. People will they'll procrastinate. They'll want it so badly. They'll get frustrated, and then they'll never take action, which then causes sadness, depression. They'll get anxious. They'll get frustrated. They'll get jealous. They'll compare themselves to others. So, yeah, it's about having them action steps and knowing how to go after that, which once again, back to the school topic, you're never, ever taught how to go after your own goals. You're taught to work for somebody else's goals.
Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it, when you think about it all, you kind of like look at it from that perspective. Like when you grow up a little bit, you kind of see things in a different light, don't you? Because you've had certain experiences. Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, and that's it. If you have, it's another topic. If you're having the same experiences week in, week out, you're going to the same job, being unhappy, being unfulfilled, spending the weekends in the pub, doing the same things hungover, you're not having these new experiences. You're just reliving these experiences over and over again. So you got to start creating new experiences and new opportunities for you then to learn more about yourself, for you then to learn more about other people, and you to learn about what you actually want to do in your life. But and it's very challenging, if you're stuck in this cycle, which is what you've been living for years and years and years, experiencing the same things, the same holidays, the same drinks, the same conversations, that's going to be your world. And if you want that to be your world, that's fine. But if you don't want that to be your world and you want greater things, you need to start breaking free, having new experiences, creating new opportunities, speaking to other people, experiencing different learnings, and something from going traveling, which for myself, which I know is pretty difficult right now, but experiencing different cultures, learning about different cultures. There's a whole world out there, and it's much bigger than your world.
Oh yeah, massively.
You learn so much.
It's a bit like that kind of concept of a goldfish in a bowl, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're seeing what you're doing, you're going around it in that bowl, but there's a whole kind of giant, bigger ocean out there from where, you're in your fishbowl kind of thing. I noticed that when I went to France, I went to different places and you see how they live and culture and, the way what they eat, like I like oat milk. I remember going to a coffee shop and the girl I was with at the time was like, just because they had their milk and they have water with it. She's like, just have what's there. And I was like, yeah, but do they have any oat milk? And she's like, no, just forget that. You're here to experience the culture. And I was like, oh yeah, it makes sense. And it's important. That's like a small example, but
Yeah.
It opens up your mind, and you create new narratives, and it makes you think. And I think that's why it's important to travel, because you know, if you can safely, um, you grow. You know.
Yeah, I'm a big advocate for traveling. I could sit here and speak about it for days.
Mm,
From my experiences of the world and different cultures and different work ethics, and also my learnings of that and something that I've carried through with me now is you need very little to be happy. Very, very little. I remember seeing children in Vietnam who had hardly anything, who lived in mud houses, and spending a few days with them, they were the happiest people. The parents were the happiest people. Did they have any money? Hardly any, but they were so happy. So
mm,
happy in their own little world, and they weren't after anything. We would offer them money, and they'd be like, no, 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 no. And it's incredible because they don't value money as that. Money's a means to buy things in terms of food, water, maybe, but
mm,
it's not to buy happiness for them.
mm.
Which I think that was powerful from what I experienced for them.
Yeah.
It really
No,
was.
yeah, no, I agree with you, and I think like it really does make you think and question things when, you know, like the people out there who they've got it what's the word, they've got it sorted. They know what
Yeah.
happiness is and what makes them happy. They're not too overindulged in all this, you know, a lot of materialistic things.
Superficial.
um yeah, and I think that kind of goes back to, like, you know, we're not you know, like caveman times, we're not designed to, you know, our minds, you know, is like, you know, get food, you know, have a base to be at, you know,
Yeah.
family, work, you know, these core kind of concepts. And whereas now there's social media, there's all these other outlets all on top of this. So that's why there's probably like a lot of mental health problems, because we're not designed to have 200 different things flying around our heads.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's powerful. I
Well,
mean,
the mind can only the mind your conscious mind can only interpret 7 + or 2 minus information per second, and we
mm,
have got what they estimate around about 20 million to 300 million bits of information coming into your mind each and every second, which is being multiplied by technology.
mm,
So no wonder we're feeling overwhelmed. No wonder people are feeling anxious, because the amount of information that is coming into our brains, which is a fantastic computer and a
mm,
fantastic organ in our body, is being stretched to its limits in terms of the amount of information that's coming in. And as you said, in caveman times, we weren't designed. We were designed to survive, and we were designed to, I think, just survive, really, wasn't it?
mm,
So yeah, times are changing, and it's important to stay guard once again at the entrance of your mind of what is coming in.
yeah, yeah. No, I agree, definitely. Um, yeah, no. Is there anything else that you want to talk about or bring up?
I think we've
Is there
given
anything
a
you
lot
want
of
to? Yeah,
information, we've covered a lot of numerous different topics, but we've covered them in some good detail. And
detail. Yeah.
I think the biggest thing I would say is that it's to look internal in terms of everything that's going on in the world. Everything that is going on is to look internal and start asking yourself questions about what can I do to be more positive, or what can I do to control the amount of information that's coming in. Start, if
Mm,
you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed, if you're feeling a little bit anxious, if you're feeling a feeling that you don't want to feel, and start asking questions. How can I change this? What can I do about it? How can I improve? And
mm,
actually realize that you are in control. Take the control back. You are in control.
mm.
That's
Yeah,
key.
yeah. No, that's really key. And you know, it's been great talking to you, James, again.
Thank you,
And
Adam, for having me back on the show. It's been fantastic. I've loved it. I can't believe
yeah.
how long we've been going for, but it's
Oh, oh wow, like an hour and 10 minutes.
wow, it's flown.
Yeah. No, that's it.
Thank
No,
you.
it's no, you're welcome. It's great to have you on, and I think, you know, when you really vibe with somebody, you know, you're on the same page. Time, you know, can fly, and I think
Mhm.
it's it just kind of comes natural. And I think, we provided some good content, and it's really, I'm really grateful to, connect with you, and,
Likewise.
I appreciate it. And to have this, and we can definitely do this again sometime. And I think people
And
take a lot
likewise,
from it.
I can get you on my podcast as well. I know last
Yeah,
time
of course.
we arranged to get on, but we can get that arranged where you can come on the
Yeah.
podcast. Definitely.
Yeah. And where can people find you on social media and find your podcast? And
So the podcast is across all platforms, and that's just the Impact Coaching Podcast. And social media, I'm soon to be setting up a new Facebook group, which is going to be really focused around making personal development simple and accessible. And that's going to be for people who are at a threshold and a crossroad in their life and want something different. So, that'll be probably mentioned. If you head over to the podcast, that is something that will be mentioned in a few episodes' time. But yeah, and Instagram is Impact. Oh, sorry, I'm losing my words now. Instagram is Impact Coaching, and then just the number 1. And that's where you'll find me on there.
Oh, awesome, James.
Cheers. Thank you, Adam.
Yeah. No, you're welcome. But I'll put that in the dialogue for this, and
cool.
I look forward to being on yours, and I wish you all the best with your day and what you're doing.
Likewise.
I think you're doing great work. No, I appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, Adam. It's been an absolute pleasure.
No, you're welcome. Take care, everyone. Cheers.